Hello, everyone. It's a pity I couldn't travel in person to see you all there. Hope it is our first time we talk to each other. Next time, hope to be there with you guys. And as described, we will start with seeing the approaches to integrate security into DevOps cycle. Please tell me when you see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see the screen, but you can enter full screen, maybe.
Is it still not a full screen? Because I'm on full screen on my side. It is not a full screen. You don't see the full. Can you
Okay, we can see. You can start.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So let's start why we're talking about this. And, let's look in the challenges we are trying to solve here. And if we look, what we see working with our customers and what are the most strong challenges everybody, or let's say majority of organizations are, trying to overcome these days are, first of all, of course, the style of software development now and the rapid change, rapid addition of new functionality, complete automation through DevOps, and the focus is on delivering to the business what they need, right? Would the business be your internal client, your external client, depending where you work? I think many of you are technical and many of you know what I'm speaking about. So when focused on achieving the results for the business, probably quite often we not focus really on security. We forget about security. And then when unfortunately it comes back in the form of a risk or an exploit that have been done, that's really painful. So we need to think how to combine rapid cycle of releases with the security. And that's the main formulation of the challenge we're looking into. Everyone who tried to find AppSec application security experienced specialists probably know it's difficult. This expertise it's popular, but still the demand is very high as well. So finding a good personnel, good people into your team, knowledgeable ones, is difficult. It's more, I think, more realistic to train developers. And again, with that, in some organizations, some places, developers are really security aware and knowledgeable. In other locations, we need to improve this. So this is another challenge: security trainings for the coders, for the developers. Growing compliance requirements. It's very in many European countries we can see that coming very hard on us, and we have to follow probably twice of the compliance we needed to follow as developers like 10, 20 years ago. So these are the main challenges we will look into. What to do? How can we solve them? What can we use as the approach? Also knowing that fixing something is always better to be done during the coding stage rather than production stage, right? So what you see now on this slide, it is a NIST publication. They have investigated the average costs. So when you find a vulnerability in production, it's typically 30 times more expensive than to fix it during the design phase, and it's 6 times more expensive than to fix it in the coding stage, right? And also much easier because when we are coding, we are mentally in the code, so we can fix much sooner. So what is the idea? Of course, the idea is to bring security to developers, to enable developers in their working space, in IDEs mainly, to look into security, run security checks, have all abilities to work on fixing. Can you see my presentation well? Do you see
Sir, just we don't see the next slide. You should this PowerPoint screen should be the main screen.
Give me a second, please. I will try to share again. I think something wrong with the sharing here. Apologies for that. I will share just all my screen, not to have a doubt which screen is the main screen. Let me start it. Do you see now? You should be looking at this at the
Okay,
slide.
that's fine. Okay, okay. What
Okay,
we needs to happen? Yes, that's right.
and you see the big red arrow to the left. Do
Yes,
you?
we see the brick. Yes.
Thank you. So it works now. Apologies for that. I was speaking a lot and you couldn't see anything. That's a pity. This is the other side of remote presentations. So let's move on. What we're going to look here today is, I will stop with the slides quite soon. I will just speak another 5 minutes about the preparations to the journey. But what we will look at will be a real life environment, development environment, security environment, where we have Fortify integrated with IDEs, and we will go with you through the software development road journey, as we name it, from design to production. We will stop specifically on the items on how we can integrate security checks and ability to fix or remediate for the developers into the development lifecycle. And as before any journey, before we start, we need to be prepared, right? We need to be sure we know where we are going, where we're going to arrive. We need to have our things with us. We have to have air tickets, everything arranged, hotel booked. The same here. It would be not very smart to jump without being prepared, right? Jumping into application security enablement is a journey, and we need to think and plan upfront to be successful. So let's look at our main items that we think are important based on our experience working with the customers across the globe. I speak about Micro Focus Fortify. It's one of the most solid and probably the most mature solutions in the area on the market. And what we have been doing, we have been implementing application security for probably thousands of customers up to now in different locations, different type. These are different organizations. So I want to speak about high level, real high level, straightforward things. Maybe if you were doing this, it is like a bit simplistic, but I want to be sure that we cover the main items, basic items, before we start the journey. And the first part is very important. It's understanding the scope. So whenever I hear from the customer, we are trying to scan everything, I think this is probably not correct, because it's when you try to do something in the unlimited scope or covering everything with the same attention, you are probably not looking into how to measure what is more important for you. And here, what is important is a business impact or business risk. So when approaching application security program, please prepare to this with applications inventory. Some of organizations have them already, especially the one that have compliance requirements. They already have it. Some are not, or some may have partially covered, and part of applications are listed. Business risk is analyzed, technical risk is analyzed, but then part of the portfolio used is missed out of this procedure. So we have to clearly understand how many applications we have, what is the business impact the applications bring or systems bring into our environment. If I'm an e-commerce organization, for example, then probably my e-commerce site is key to my business, and it's very important. If it's, on the other hand, an application that is doing some simple automation for internal processes and can be substituted for a couple of days with Excel worksheet and nothing happens, then it's obviously low risk and my business will not be impacted. So talk to your business, please. Look at which systems are critical. What will happen from the business perspective if it is off for 3 days? Are these big losses and really big impact on our business, or is it just a side effect? And start from what is important. And believe me, if you go this way, then the scope will be very clear, and you will clearly understand how many applications you have to scan properly, you have to fix quickly, and how it can be checked once a quarter, for example, right? Then when you already have the scope clear, look for the right balance. Just as a recommendation, these days doing everything centrally as a central application security team is probably very hard, or if at all possible. So the advice we are giving is try to balance the security requirements and responsibilities between the central team and the development teams. So each development team has to have security enabled developers, experienced ones, who can lead the team in terms of application security, who can teach team members, who can work with them, who can be like informal AppSec leaders in development teams and take the responsibility for the practice. Then distribute the effort and budget proportionally to business impact. If it's a high profile critical system and application is part of this system, then you have to invest into application security, into securing this application with very high attention. If it's a low profile, a rarely used internal tool, it will be just enough to have a check here and there and structure your policies in accordance with the business impact. If it's a high critical application, have a well-documented policy which describes what you do and how you assure the security is under your control. If it's a low risk, then you can be a bit more relaxed. Never always relaxed, but a bit more relaxed. And of course, what we don't measure, we cannot improve. So think what KPIs would be most appropriate. And think about simple KPIs, especially at the beginning. Like how many defects can we fix in the high risk applications in a week? Something like that. Very, very simple. Then you will arrive within certain time to more advanced metrics, and you will be, able to build a more sophisticated mechanism to measure. In the very start, it's like defect density in terms of security, time to remediate, this kind of simple things. So hopefully this was useful to you. It is like not 100% technical. It was more organizational, process-based, and technical. Application security enablement has these three big parts. It's not only technology. It's a change management process, and it includes people, process, and technologies. That's why I tried to look also a bit wider around. Maybe there are questions there. Do you have any questions so far? Or should we ask questions in the end? What would be your preference?
If you don't have any questions now, we can wait till the end.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. So let me talk very briefly about Fortify. So Fortify is a platform that enables static, dynamic, and open source analysis. Can be deployed on-premise, in the cloud, hybrid, can be pure SaaS. So we have really very diverse portfolio of products that are making this platform. Today, what I will illustrate here will be on-demand cloud solution. But again, we can also do full on-premise. We can also do hybrid. The deployment may vary depending on the requirements that you are having. And with that, let's start. Let's go into a hands-on, journey, and we will start with the first step. And this first will be when we write the code. How can we help developers to make less security mistakes? With this, let me change to my virtual machine. Okay, I think my screen has, okay. Please tell me if you see IntelliJ. You should see IntelliJ green now.
Yes, we see IntelliJ screen.
Very good, thank you. So I think, at least that's what I was told, there are a lot of developers in the room now. And so I hope this looks familiar to you. We are working with various IDEs, with the IntelliJ IDEA family, with the Eclipse family, with Visual Studio. These are like three main directions. So our strategy, Fortify, is enable developers to write secure code in their working environment where the code is being created, right when it is created. And we have various tools for that. I will start with a Fortify Security Assistant. This is a lightweight scanner. It's a 25% of scanning capabilities that a full static scanner would include. It is in the plugin itself, in the plugin for IntelliJ in this case, but the same with Eclipse and Visual Studio. And it's very quick, it's very lightweight. So what you can do, you can activate it by inspecting the code. You just do inspect the code run first when you are just beginning to work in the IDE. And then what will happen, in a couple of minutes, the code will be analyzed. Not only with our solution, our security assistant will be just part of it. And then each mistake that have been done during the coding will be coming up as in the spell checker, like this. So basically, when you write, it will also work as a full spell checker. So when you write the code, it will immediately underline for you the security errors. Again, these are not all security errors. It is just 25%. And the visibility on the data flow structure will be just one file. But it's important that simple, straightforward mistakes are communicated to you immediately. You can also immediately see the information about what the mistake is all about and how to fix it. You will see the examples. So you have the education and mapping to standards. You can also read more about it if you want. But this is like a quick feedback without commit, without any additional steps you have to do. So really very helpful technology. This is one way to have a quick check as you type. Then as you create the code, you can upload your project to Fortify OnDemand to the scanner and have it scanned as you do your work. So depending on the size of source code, if it's modern microservices type of architecture and small pieces of code, it will be scanned very quickly in minutes and you will get the results. If it's more than that, if it's a monolithic application of 1 million lines of code, don't expect it to give you the results quickly, but you can always open the results. So here you can go and you can check which particular application you want to open in this IDE. I will just have to provide here the password. I will not do it now at this point. I will show that later. I have preloaded the results here. So what you have all your results loaded from Fortify OnDemand, and you can have synchronization with code for each of them. Like here we have like cross-site scripting reflected, right? There are a number of those findings identified. So what the system offers you, it offers information about the data flow for each of the findings, like where it is come from. Like, for example, the source is from request get cookies, and then all the logic of your code is communicated to you. So you can see how the structure of vulnerability was identified. You can also get here the information on the details of vulnerability for each of those vulnerabilities in the structure, sorted by criticality. You can see the description of what is the nature of the vulnerability you are looking into and the recommendations of how to fix it. All here in one location. So basically, even before you commit your code, you can do from IDE scan check, analysis of the findings, and the fixing. This is all can be done from the IDE without moving into the further part of the life cycle even. So when you are fully in the code writing, you are understanding the code structure, and it's very efficient to fix. So this is about the first stage here, about code writing, how we can help you on this stage. So we have direct IDE plugins in your workplace. We have real-time security assistant. It's a checker which will work similar to a spell checker really quickly. And you will have instantaneous security feedback and recommendations on how to fix everything in your working location. So then if we go into next steps, after you commit and scan, then depending on the structure and depending on your flow, you will be able to program the triggers which will initiate CI/CD pipeline runs, the overall runs, right? So let's see how this looks like. And my example here will be with the Azure DevOps. We support very many different CI/CD engines or servers, Jenkins, GitHub Actions, GitLab, Azure DevOps. So basically, all the main CI/CD servers are we have out-of-the-box integration with the majority of popular ones. We will look here into one of them, into Azure DevOps, and I actually wanted to run it for you. You see it where it failed. It's an important element here because this fail is actually showing you that when we run the check in the pipeline, we can enforce the policy and fail the pipeline if we didn't meet the policy, if there are, for example, critical vulnerabilities identified. We can switch it on or off, but it's a possibility. In general, if we look into Azure DevOps, the integration is relatively straightforward. You have a build pipeline here, as you can see, and you can implement integration with Fortify OnDemand like this. Fortify On-Prem will be also straightforward, slightly different, but basically similar. And we have plenty of extensions for different types of integrations for Azure DevOps, for example. So you can see there is Fortify OnDemand static, Scan Central on-prem dynamic, Scan Central on-prem static. So we have a full package of these. So what I'm showing for Fortify OnDemand is also true for on-premise and the systems that are deployed in your own environment. Rather than running the scan on the cloud, you can run the scan in your internal environment as well. So let me run the pipeline. In the meantime, I want to really quickly show you Fortify OnDemand, UI, just for you to know it a little bit better. How much time do we have? Because we started a couple of minutes later, but I think I'm running late. How much time?
12 minutes.
12 minutes. Thank you very much. That should be enough. So I'm going to quickly provide credentials here. We also support single sign-on. It's just my demo environment. It doesn't have single sign-on enabled. So how does Fortify OnDemand interface look like? First of all, you have applications here. These are the application portfolio you are scanning. Every of these ones have the list of the scans being run, and we can also immediately jump as well into analyzing the findings, the vulnerabilities itself. So for example, here you will have a similar information that we were looking into in the IntelliJ, but it's also like, handy. You have the description of vulnerability, recommendations how to fix, and of course, what is the most valuable, you have direct link and points to the code, where the source is, where the sync is, how it goes from 1 to 3, and where you can easily, in some cases it's more non-trivial, but you can analyze and understand the vulnerability and fix it immediately in your environment. You can also assign a user to look into it. You can change the status. If you, for example, think it needs to be reanalyzed, it's also possible. It can be changed the security, and so you basically can put your comment saying, I don't think it's a vulnerability, please reconsider, I think it's false positive. That's also very much possible. So you can work here on analyzing the elements of it. Also, when you're having this tenant, you can register users, so you can add your team members. We support SSO with all main, like some SAML2 and similar identity providers. So you can create your own groups, your roles. You can map your team members to particular applications. So when I'm having, if I'm the developer on just one of these projects, I will be having access just to my project, nothing else. This will be my visibility. Of course, we have reports enabled here, other things. So this is just very, very quickly to look into it. you also have the integration tools here that I was speaking about, plugins to the CI/CD, plugins to the IDEs. They are also on the marketplaces for each of the directions. Like on Eclipse marketplace, we will have our plugins. So the same with IDEA, the same with Azure, etc., etc. So this is very quick because I don't have much time. I wanted to show you how the pipeline works out now. So we have built the application. We have run the test successfully. We are now in Fortify OnDemand stage. So we see that the scan was it's already uploaded, right? Because we see it's uploading source files. So we have a packager that packages the code and uploads it to our server, to Fortify OnDemand server. Let's quickly jump here and see if we have on the sandbox, it's WebGoat demo, I think. Yeah, fantastic. So it's already there. You see the scan is already being running from the pipeline. If we click further on the WebGoat, we see we just started it. It is in progress now. So what it is doing now, it is waiting for the scan to finish, and it is polling for the results. Why? Because each application has its own policy specified. And this policy says how many of which criticality of vulnerabilities, how many days you have to fix it. So if it's in development, you, for example, can have 2 weeks because you have a sprint for 2 weeks. So you just go and fix it for 2 weeks. Then if it's already in the test environment, probably 2 weeks would be unreasonable. So it's like 2 days. If it's production, it's immediate. You cannot go into production with critical vulnerabilities. So that's where we fail the pipeline. Now, when we run this pipeline, we can enable the check. So what happens, we run the scan, we pull back the results, and then we validate. Are these results in accordance with the policy we specified? If it's not, it will be, there are 2 options. We can either put a warning. So if it's in development cycle, early in development, I would not fail the pipeline because it's not a build error that is happening. I would just say a warning like, hello, developers, you have 3 critical vulnerabilities that are not corresponding to the policy. Please fix them, right? Here, what I did, I just, if we look back into the structure of integration, that's where I specified that like this is late stages scan. This is not the developer stage. This is probably testing one. And I said, policy fail action true, meaning if there is a policy failing, break the pipeline. Tell everyone, no, it cannot move further. You have to fix it. And that's what we are getting as the result in the pipeline itself. So we have the failing result because to failure because we didn't pass the policy. Right, we got critical vulnerabilities. You see, we have 5 critical vulnerabilities which are not allowed by this policy to happen. If you link it back to what we were discussing as, balancing the effort with the criticality of the application, the more critical application is, the more strict policy you have to apply. So that's also the logic, the link to the first part of the presentation. This is very quick run for you, and I think I still have 5 minutes to go.
Yeah,
I
5
will
minutes.
say that again, please.
Yes, 5 minutes.
5 minutes. So I will just go very quickly through the remediation steps. So as you saw, we have all the information to remediate ourselves. With the Fortify OnDemand, we also have a managed service offering from our experts to review your results, suppress false positives, review criticality of vulnerabilities. So we can also help you in analysis if needed. And a very similar integration we have in the stage of dynamic analysis. So when, for those who don't know what dynamic analysis is, dynamic analysis is throwing the attacks against a working web application or an API. It's run during the testing phase because we need a working deployed applications. And it is typically part of the release pipeline rather than build pipeline. That said, the integration itself looks quite similar. So if we look into the type of integration for Dust. Let me see. I think I was having it. Yes, Dust Fort. It is here. I will be not running it because of lack of time, but this is how you would integrate. So imagine this is your release pipeline. You are deploying your application onto the test server. You're doing a smoke test. You see that the responses, authorization working, responses coming back. Then you can execute the dynamic scan right from the pipeline as well, automatically, which is very important because it's like a strict process that everyone will have to follow. But again, important note, it has to be run on the stage of testing because we need a working application or fully working endpoints for the API. So we can make this as part of your regular CI/CD release pipeline on the testing environment. And we will have a central management and reporting, which is Fortify OnDemand or Fortify On-Prem, which will have results for static analysis, for dynamic analysis, and for open source in one location. This is a very quick run I did here. I would love to have a possibility to have a more like, you know, more face-to-face conversations the next time with you and discuss more in details how Fortify OnDemand can enable security in DevOps. Now, are there any questions? Do you have any questions from the audience?
Do we have any questions? There is one question, okay.
Great, good to know.
Hello, Yaroslav. Just one question related to using Fortify for database development, for instance, in SQL development environment. Can you use it for instance, for PLSQL and relations when you use PLSQL and, for instance, Oracle database?
Thank you very much. It's a very good question. So for the static analysis in general, SQL languages like you know, T-SQL or it's not very easy to scan, right? Because we can definitely scan straightforward constructions, SQL constructions, but understanding the general structure of the application in SQL is more difficult, I would say. So technically, yes, we can scan Oracle SQL, we can scan T-SQL, but it will be a more straightforward scan of the SQL queries logic, okay? But not the, you know, to be very quick, it's structure, not the whole building, not the whole idea. Did I explain it clearly, what I mean with that?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Before we end, are there any other questions in the audience?
Do we have more questions? I think no.
Okay, thank you very much. And by the way, we have Fortify Unplugged channel on the YouTube. Try to visit it. It will give you a lot of handy, quick 5-10 minutes videos showing a lot of elements where Fortify can be used in DevSecOps. You know, similar to our quick run here, it will give you examples with different tooling, different IDs, different CI/CD servers, etc. Thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure to talk to you at least. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Yaroslav, for your presentation.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.